Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2020, and here are the readings for today. The first reading is from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verses 9 through 17. Brethren, we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and another man is building upon it. Let each man care for how he builds upon it. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each man's work will become manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work which any man has done has been built on a foundation that survives, he will receive a reward. If any man's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. Do you not know that you are God's temple, and that God's Spirit dwells within you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him, for God's temple is holy, and that temple you are. And the Gospel today is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 14, verses 22 through 34. At that time, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. And after he dismissed the crowds, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. When the evening came, he was there all alone, but the boat by this time was many furlongs distant from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It is a ghost," and they cried out for fear. But immediately he spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I, have no fear." Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, "O man of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they entered the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." And when they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. This morning's readings, I think, are very important for us to understand who we are, our lives in Christ, and the way that we respond to adversity within the world. A couple of things I want to point out. The first one, in the gospel reading, we have Jesus walking on the water. We have him telling Peter that he should come to him, and Peter does, and he's successful, able to walk on the water for a time. But then he sees the wind, and when he sees the wind, he becomes captivated by the wind. He becomes afraid of it. He's not afraid of walking on the water, he's afraid of the wind. But when he becomes afraid of the wind, he begins to sink, because his fear overwhelms his faith. I think that happens with us a lot. I think a lot of times in this world, we have faith when it's convenient. When things are going well for us, it's very easy to have faith. But when things get tough, and I know people say, "Oh, I have faith, I can persevere." But if you look hard, a lot of times, especially when people are struggling, they're forgetting to pray, and they're forgetting to put their trust in God because things are more difficult to deal with. Things are more challenging, and as a result, we tend to close in. In the Orthodox Church, we teach that sin comes through death, not death through sin. We don't sin and therefore deserve to die. Our existential reality is that we are corrupt from the beginning, and I don't mean sinful corrupt, I mean our bodies are fragile. They're clay pots, treasures in earthen vessels. And so, when we get challenged with when we come face to face with death, or some of the challenges that death presents, we tend to take matters into our own hands. We tend to do what is pleasing to us, and perhaps not what is pleasing to God. And so as a result, we fall, not because God is mad at us, or not because we deserve to die, but we fall because we begin to put us in God's place. We begin to make judgments as if we were God, and not a servant of God. So, when you take a look at an episode like what Peter is experiencing here, you can use that and say, when you keep your sights steadfastly focused on Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter. You don't pay attention to the wind. You don't pay attention to the fact that you're walking on the water. You just go to him. But when you see the waves or see the wind and you begin to perceive these things, you begin to think, I got to do something. And when you do something, you sink. So it's a challenge, and it's something that we have to learn how to deal with in this world because we are used to being our own little gods. Now, if you take a look at what's in the epistle today, you see St. Paul talking about one foundation which has been laid, and he says that he was the one who laid it to the people in Corinth, and that is Jesus Christ. And now he says, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each man's work will become manifest, and that each one will be tried by fire. Now this can be taken all sorts of different ways, but again, it's the same as Peter seeing the wind. It's adversity. When adversity comes, if your foundation is Jesus Christ, your building will remain strong because the foundation is stronger than any other foundation. But if your foundation is something other than Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter what you build on it. It's as if you built a precious building in a swamp or on sand. It doesn't endure. And that's exactly what St. Paul says. For the day, capital D for day, will disclose it because it will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work of any man is built on a foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If any man's work is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. So this is a big challenge for us, because we will face our challenges. We're facing challenges now. And the question is, what is our faith built upon? Is it built upon the solid foundation of Jesus Christ? Or is it built upon something else? A faith in government, a faith in weapons, a faith in money, a faith in control, a faith in power. All of these things, other than Jesus Christ, are idolatrous, and all of them will crumble. None of them will endure but one, and that again is Jesus Christ and that foundation. We must make sure that our faith is placed in the right things. Otherwise, we will be like Peter, having courage for but a moment and then sinking like a stone. This is a challenge. We will all face a challenge in this world, a trial by fire. But with God on our side, there is very little that can happen that would work against us. We may suffer, we may have persecution, we may suffer loss, whatever the case may be, but with him on our side, ultimately the victory is ours because he has destroyed all that remains against us that can permanently hurt us. Death has been destroyed, it has been obliterated. There is nothing else in this world that can work against us in that vein. So may God bless you and keep you, you and your family, today and always. Have a blessed day of the Lord, and God willing, we'll meet again tomorrow. Have a great day.